Throughout history, humans built cities and created empires, and then they raised walls to protect them. Every castle was born from a fear of invasion, fear of losing power, and sometimes the fear of being forgotten. Thousands of castles have vanished. Some were shattered by cannons, some burned in fire, others simply lost to time. But there are a few, ones that felt the wind of centuries, the snow, the rain, the wars, the fall of empires, and yet their gates never opened. They were attacked, besieged, starved, deceived, and still, their walls did not fall, their flags did not lower, their legends did not break. One question has always remained: were these castles truly never taken, or did stories make them invincible? Was it the strength of the stone, or the strength of the people inside? Or is the unconquered castle just a beautiful myth we like to believe? Some stood on mountain peaks, reachable only by deadly cliffs. Some stood in deserts, where even camels ran out of water, but the castle didn't. Others were built so cleverly that enemies entered through the gate and still could not find their way inside. History quietly admits something. Not every gate is opened by force. Some gates exist only in legend. In this video, we will explore the castles said to have never been conquered, see where myth ends and history begins, and search for the real answer. Were these walls unbeatable, or were the people behind them? If you're ready, let's visit the castles whose walls still speak. In the heart of the Judean desert, on top of towering cliffs, stands a mountain that touches the sky. This is Masada Fortress. There was only one path leading up to it. No straight roads, no easy approach. Armies could not simply march there. Only willpower could. The Roman Empire had crushed the Jewish revolt. Cities burned, temples fell, but one rock fortress still remained: Masada, the last breath of freedom. The Roman legions reached it at last. They surrounded it completely. Hundreds of tents, siege towers, and machines, a massive encircling wall, and a great ramp rising toward the cliff months past. Inside the fortress, life continued differently. Free people wanted to choose their own fate. They knew, if the fortress fell, bodies would be enslaved, but their spirit must not. When the Romans finally broke the wall and entered the fortress, they fell silent. Because the strongest wall had not fallen, there was only silence. The defenders of Masada had made a choice. We will not be taken as slaves. For them, defeat did not simply mean losing, it meant losing freedom. And so Masada leaves us with a question. Was this fortress conquered, or was it never taken at all? The stone walls eventually fell, but the story did not. Masada is not only a ruin today, it is a symbol of choosing freedom until the last breath. In the mountains of northern Iran, hidden among sheer cliffs, lies another world. This is Alamut Castle. It is set so deep within the mountains that from afar it appears to be nothing more than rock. The roads leading to it are narrow, winding paths, as if there is no space for mistakes. For centuries, people have whispered its name. Alamut, the eagle's nest. Those who lived here saw themselves like eagles, free, high, and watching from above. In the Middle Ages, Alamut was not just stone walls. It was a center of ideas. Knowledge was taught here, books were written, and thought itself was power. At the same time, the defenders of the fortress were known as silent, swift, almost invisible fighters. Legends said they vanished like night. They moved through deadly mountain paths, and by the time the enemy noticed them, it was already too late. The greatest weapon of Alamut was not the sword, it was geography and the mind. To attack this fortress was to attack the mountain itself. The path was narrow, the walls leaned against cliffs, below an abyss, above a deadly calm. When enemies approached, it seemed like the castle disappeared and the mountain itself became the fortress. Time changed. Empires rose and fell. Alamut was besieged not only by armies but by fear and legend. At last, great armies stood before it. The walls were still standing, so was the will of its defenders. Yet its fate was decided not by stone or steel, but by human choice. Alamut remains a question in history. Did it fall by force or only through betrayal? Today, Alamut is not just ruins. It survives as a symbol of knowledge, free thought, and the unreachable. In the heart of Japan stands one of the most beautiful castles ever built. This is Himeji Castle, known as the White Heron, because from a distance it looks as if a great white bird is about to take flight. Its white walls shine in the sun, its roofs curve like wings, and beneath that beauty lies one of the most brilliant defensive designs in history. Himeji was not protected only by swords. It was protected by intelligence. The paths leading to the main keep twist and circle back on themselves. Enemies who entered through the gates believed they were moving forward, but the castle gently guided them in circles. Walls turned at unexpected angles. Gates opened into dead ends. Streets narrowed suddenly like traps. A samurai once said, "You can enter Himeji, but you may never reach its heart." The castle saw wars, clans rising and falling, fires, earthquakes, and centuries of change, and yet it still stands, almost untouched. Today, Himeji Castle is not just a fortress. It is a symbol of another truth. Sometimes victory is not won by strength, but by design. On the hills of Syria stands a giant that still speaks with the wind. This is Crac des Chevaliers, one of the mightiest crusader castles ever built, and to many the unconquerable fortress of the Middle Ages. Its location itself was a weapon. Cliffs on one side, deep valleys on the other, winds above, silence below. Armies who first saw it often thought, "We are not fighting a castle, we are fighting the mountain itself." The castle's greatest strength was not what you saw. Its true power lay in its double concentric defense. An outer wall, an inner, even stronger wall, and between them a deadly maze of narrow passages. Even if the enemy broke through the first wall, they found themselves trapped in an even stronger fortress. Every gate hit another gate. Every wall hit a higher wall. Crac endured sieges for centuries. Catapults thundered, battering rams struck its gates. Yet the main defense line did not fall. The Crusaders defended it not only as a fortress, but as an idea. This was not only stone, it was the symbol of will, belief, and fear. Historians say Crac des Chevaliers was not taken by the sword. It was taken only by time. Today it still stands in silence. The stones may be damaged, but one sentence remains. Some castles are protected not by walls, but by legend. In the Bavarian mountains of Germany, hidden among forests and mist, a castle rises. It looks as if it stepped straight out of a fairy tale, as if it was carved from music and dreams. This is Neuschwanstein Castle. It is so beautiful that people ask whether it is even real. White walls, blue roofs, towers touching the clouds. They call it the fairy tale castle because it truly was built for a fairy tale. It was created by King Ludwig II of Bavaria. The castle was his dream world. Paintings, legends, romantic imagination, lonely, protected fantasies. But Neuschwanstein was not only about beauty, it was about inaccessibility. It stands on steep rocks. Roads are narrow and dangerous. Bringing heavy artillery close was nearly impossible. Large armies could not easily reach it. Wars came and went. Empires collapsed. Germany passed through fire. Yet this castle was never directly conquered. It was never taken by force. It seemed protected not only by stone walls, but by the fairy tale itself. Today, Neuschwanstein is more than a tourist site. It answers one quiet question. Sometimes the strongest castles are not built for war, but for dreams. History often tells the stories of shining swords, marching armies, and famous generals. But these fortresses remind us of something different. They were not built only from stone. Beneath every wall lived fear, hope, and prayer. Their gates were closed not only to enemies, but sometimes to fate itself. From the outside, they look like simple castles, but in truth, they are willpower. Silent, unbreakable, patient willpower. These walls saw thousands of arrows, heard thousands of battle cries, stood through countless sieges, and every time, they gave the same answer: no. What made their walls strong was not just the rock. Inside lived people who whispered, "We will not step back." Most of their names are lost to history, but without them, these fortresses would not exist at all. They were never conquered. Perhaps because sometimes victory is not about advancing, but about standing, not running, enduring in silence. Centuries passed, armies disappeared, statues eroded, flags changed, but these fortresses are still there. The first light of morning touches their towers. The wind moves through arrow slits and carries whispers of the past. Footsteps echo between the stones. The world changes, and yet they remain. And maybe this is their greatest secret. It wasn't only the walls that were unconquerable, it was the people inside them, their belief, their quiet promise, we will hold. These fortresses remind us of something deeply human. Life, too, brings sieges. Doors are shaken, walls are tested, the armies of doubt come close. But history leans in and whispers, "You may tremble, you do not have to fall." And perhaps that is why these fortresses still stand. Because sometimes the greatest victory is not conquering, but not being conquered.